around 2022 and 2023, so that was around 3 to 4 years ago, yung price ng Wilcon nag-hover above 30 pesos. And in 2025, tapos ngayong 2026, naglalaro na lang yung price around 7 pesos. So, a lot of you guys na mga market participants are wondering kung ano ba yung nangyari sa Wilcon, kung makakabawi pa ba siya, kung may ibababa pa ba, and kung okay pa bang bilhin yung Wilcon or dapat nang iwasan. So, for this goodbye or goodbye video, I'll be talking about Wilcon and ano yung mga opinions ko regarding sa fundamentals, sa speculative nature ng stock, at syempre, yung technicals niya. So, just a quick disclaimer, the analysis and opinions discussed in this video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Trading and investing both have risks, which means it could lead to potential losses. Make sure to do your own research and due diligence before making any financial decisions. So, if you're new to this channel, whenever I do goodbye or goodbye videos, separated yan into 3 segments. So, I'll be talking about the facts, mostly surrounding yung fundamentals, speculation, so this covers the positive and negative catalysts of the stock, and technicals, where I do a deep dive sa price action or price movement ng isang stock. So, una mo nang pag-uusapan natin yung facts regarding sa Wilcon. So, for 2025, the stock performance of Wilcon is sobrang negative, no? From the 2024 prices, nag-down siya ng negative 51.33%. So, a little more than 50%. So, talagang kalahati yung binaba ng stock price niya, no? However, from a low of 6.40 last November 17, the stock has found a temporary bottom. And as of the January 23 closing price na 7.16, so up na yung stock ng nearly 12%, no? So 11.88% to be specific. So 2 questions arise. Bakit ba sobrang weak ng 2025 performance ng Wilcon? And what could be the cause of the nearly 12% recovery in the past 2 months alone? So syempre, in order to understand why these things are happening, kailangan muna natin pag-usapan kung paano ba nagkakaroon ng pera yung Wilcon. So, ano ba yung negosyo nila? So, the business model or the business of Wilcon is very simple. So, they're involved in retail sales of home improvement goods and construction materials. So, ang ginagawa nila, may mga iba't ibang brands na nagpo-provide ng iba't ibang goods or products. Tapos, pinagsasama-sama nila tong mga products na to, no, sa mga stores nila na pwede nating masabi na halos warehouse na, no. Tapos, binibenta nila. So, basically, involved sila sa pag-distribute ng mga products na to. So, sa madaling sabi, buy and sell yung ginagawa nila. So, when it comes to the ways on how Wilcon makes money, meron silang tinatawag na 3-slice pie when we talk about home improvement or construction materials. So, meron yung building, finishing, and furnishing. So, pagdating sa building, they sell, of course, the products that's needed to build these structures. Example ng mga binibenta nila, cement, steel, wood, syempre marami pang iba. And pagdating naman sa finishing, so they sell tiles, no, plumbing goods, plumbing products, tapos sa flooring, and other products involved in finishing. And pagdating naman sa furnishing, so they also sell furniture, stuff for decoration, and for storage. So kung makikita natin dito yung revenue mix ng Wilcon, you'll see that the majority, no, 96% ng kabuuang sales nila for 2024 galing sa depot stores nila, no. And that's around 32-33 billion pesos. Yung pinaka-latest kasi na may annual report is 2024, since hindi pa sila nakakapaglabas ng annual report for 2025. And a very small percentage of the revenue comes from yung Do It Wilcon na revenue source nila, tapos project sales for institutions, no. Pero sobrang liit lang kumpara talaga sa depot stores nila. So, bakit ba down yung Wilcon ng a little more than 50% nitong 2025? So, the number one reason for that is because of decreasing income, and hindi lang to nangyari nung 2025. So, if you look at this table, starting 2021, you'll see that from 2020 papunta sa 2021, nagkaroon sila ng 76.8% increase sa growth nila, no? And then, pagdating ng 2022, mataas pa rin. So, nasa 50.2%. Pero, syempre, nag-decrease compared sa 2021 performance. And then, by 2023, nag-negative 9.5% sila, no? So, isipin mo, from a 76 tapos 50% increase in 2 years, yung 2023 nila nag-drop ng negative 9.5%. Tapos yung 2024, nag-negative 27.4%. Tapos itong 2025, nasa 9 months pa lang kasi dahil 3 quarterly reports pa lang yung nabibigay nila, down na ng 11.9%. This explains why nung 2023, no, gaya ng sabi ko sa intro ng video na to, yung stock price ng Wilcon nag-hover above 30 pesos. Tapos ngayon, ito, no, nasa 7 pesos na lang naglalaro around that price area. Kasi 3 taon na siyang pababa yung income. So, of course, that net income decrease will reflect sa kanyang stock price. So now we're going to talk about the speculative nature of the stock, and we'll be talking about yung risks, negative catalyst, and positive catalyst for Wilcon. So, una muna yung mga negatives. So, I think the number one reason on why Wilcon's income has been decreasing for the past 3 to 4 years, and I think it's because of soft consumer demand. So, ano ba yung soft consumer demand? So, I can break it down into certain aspects, itong reason ng pag-decrease ng demand for their products, no? So, una, there are fewer transactions. Pwedeng less yung foot traffic, no? Ibig sabihin, mas onti yung mga customers na pumupunta sa mga stores nila. And fewer contractor trips. So, pwedeng itong mga contractors, no, yung mga developers, mas onti yung pagbili nila sa mga stores ng Wilcon. So, madaling sabi, mas onti yung nabebenta nila. So, the second factor, smaller basket size pagdating sa mga products or mga goods. So, instead of customers or clients buying a wide variety of goods or products, ang nabibili na lang nila yung essential. So, they no longer buy a lot of things, no? Hindi na masyado yung mga upgrades. So, basically, yung mga kailangan lang talaga nila when it comes to home improvement or construction materials. Isa pa, no? Trade down behavior. Pwedeng nagkakaroon ng shift yung mga consumers pag-decide na bumili ng cheaper brands. So, hindi na masyadong premium yung mga binibili nila na goods or products. So, instead of buying yung mas expensive na mga products or mga goods, nagde-decide sila na mag-downgrade, no, sa mga cheaper or even possibly less na quality na brands or goods. And the last reason, postponed projects. So, pwedeng nagkakaroon ng delays pagdating sa mga renovations. So, pwede rin na nagkakaroon ng delays pagdating sa mga construction ng mga iba't ibang structures, no? Ito yung mga explanation pagdating sa reason for soft consumer demand. And ano ba talaga yung cause nito nung mga bagay na na-mention ko? So, there are 4 key reasons on why soft consumer demand happens. Isa sa mga rason na yan, syempre, high interest rates. So, if the interest rates, no, ng pera, no, ng mga pag-uutang is mataas, so, syempre, pwedeng contractors, no, developers, consumers, or clients decide to delay, ito nga sabi ko kanina, renovations and constructions because debt is expensive. So, syempre, kung mahal umutang, then people will decide to not take home loans, diba? Ano pa yung pangalawang reason? So, that's high inflation. So, this means purchasing power drops. So, of course, if inflation is high, tapos wages don't increase or income does not increase, you don't expect that people will prioritize yung mga gagawin nilang renovation sa bahay, or people will not prioritize in building properties because they have to focus on everyday things. And most of the time, syempre, itong mga bagay na to pagdating sa renovations or constructions will be last on the list. So, number 3, weak property turnover. So, I'm sure you've heard sa mga articles, no, sa mga videos talking about there's an oversupply pagdating sa mga residential sector, no, lalo na sa Metro Manila. So, ibig sabihin yan, kung magkakaroon ng slower na handovers ng mga residential areas na to, ng residential sector, syempre, you wouldn't expect na magkakaroon ng maraming renovations, magkakaroon ng maraming furnishing or magkakaroon ng maraming finishing sa mga projects na to. So, of course, that translates to lesser consumer spending. And then the fourth one, uncertain jobs or uncertain income. So, syempre, when this happens, gaya ng na-mention ka kanina, it somehow relates to high inflation because when jobs or income are uncertain, syempre, people will avoid discretionary spending. So, that's why nagsasuffer yung housing sector or real estate sector. So, the second negative catalyst pagdating sa Wilcon is yung concept na tinatawag nating margin erosion or cost inflation. So, as I've mentioned earlier, Wilcon is a retailer. So, essentially, buy and sell. So, I'm going to explain a certain concept, no? A thought experiment so you can understand clearly kung anong nangyayari sa negosyo ng Wilcon. So, for example, you see here an image of a shower head. So, it's a product that is used sa bahay. So, halimbawa, yung cost ng shower head na to is 800 pesos. And it costs 800 pesos when Wilcon buys it from company XYZ. So, pag binibili yan ng Wilcon sa isang manufacturer or sa isang reseller, nabibili nila ng 800 pesos. And then, once the product goes to the store of Wilcon, they decide to sell it for 1,000 pesos. So, 800 nila nakuha, pag nasa store na nila or nasa shelves na nila, nagiging 1,000 pesos. So, if a product is sold, how much yung magiging profit ng Wilcon? The formula is very simple. The cost is 800. Yung selling price nila or yung retail price is 1,000. So, syempre, 1,000 minus 800 equals 200. So, the profit is 200. So, I just simplified itong example na to. So, hindi ko na sinama dyan yung expenses nila pagdating sa logistics, yung expenses nila pagdating sa utilities or pag-maintain ng mga stores, no? Sinimplify ko lang as if yung cost lang talaga nung isang bagay na yun is 800. But of course, there are a lot of things to factor in. Pero sa example na to, no, simplify ko lang. So, yung profit ng Wilcon sa isang shower head na to is 200. So, what is margin or profit margin? So, profit margin is the percentage of selling price that becomes profit after covering cost. So, profit divide by the selling price or yung retail price. So, syempre, alam naman natin dito sa Wilcon na yung profit nga nila is 200 tapos yung selling price is 1,000. So, that means 200 divided by 1,000 is 0.20 or 20%. So, ito yung mga figures no na kailangan natin malaman. Cost is 800, selling price 1,000, profit is 200, tapos yung margin or profit margin is 20%. So, ano naman ngayon yung cost inflation? So, inflation is increase in price. So, when we say cost inflation, it's an increase in the cost of products. So, again, ito may shower head. Tapos, sa previous na scenario natin, yung cost ng shower head na to is 800 pesos. So, halimbawa, next month, yung naging cost ng product na to para sa Wilcon is 900 na. So, sinabi ng company XYZ na, Wilcon, hindi na 800 tong product namin na to. 900 na siya ha. So, ano na yung magiging profit ng Wilcon kung 900 na yung cost ng product na to para sa kanila? So, imbis na yung cost is 800, it's going to be 900. Tapos, yung selling price nila is 1,000. So, syempre, 1,000 minus 900 equals 100 yan. So, ang profit nila is 100 na lang. So, ngayon, ano na yung magiging profit margin? So, kanina, ito yung computation ng profit margin kapag yung profits nila is 200. So, syempre, hindi na yan 200, papalitan ko na ng 100. So, 100 divided by 1,000, that's 0.10 or 10%. So, yung cost na 800, nag-increase na, naging na siyang 900. Yung selling price, parehas pa rin na 1,000. Yung profit, imbis na 200, bumaba na sa 100. Tapos yung margin, instead of 20%, 10% na lang. So, this decrease in profit margin is called margin erosion. So, nag-erode yung margin, no? And it is a risk or negative catalyst in this case because margin erosion, ang ibig sabihin lang yan, nagdi-decrease yung profits ng isang business. So, ano yung isa sa mga solution no, pagdating sa margin erosion? So, in order to prevent margin erosion, one way to prevent that is to increase yung selling price. So, ito yung example kanina na nagkaroon ng change in cost which of course affected profit and profit margin. So, kung yung selling price is 1,000, tas sabi natin, in order to combat margin erosion, we need to increase the selling price. So, halimbawa, yung 1,000, papalitan ko ng 1,125. So, 1,125, less ko yung cost na 900. Imbes na 100 yung profits, magiging na siyang 225. And since nagbago na yung profit, syempre kailangan din i-adjust yung computation for margin. So, 225 divided by 1,125, magiging 0.20 or 20%. So, yung 10% na margin, tumaas na sa 20%. So, dahil in-adjust natin yung selling price or yung retail price, yung margin bumalik sa 20%. Wala nang margin erosion, pero yung sales price nag-increase. So, this is the reason why, no, margin erosion is the reason why yung shower head na nasa 1,000 pesos naging ng 1,125. Because in order to maintain yung profit margins, businesses need to increase yung retail price or yung selling price nila ng products in order to not decrease their profits or yung profitability. So, margin is back to 20%, walang margin erosion, but the sales price has to increase. So, margin is saved, but this creates a new problem. Kasi baka isipin nyo, no? Kung pwede lang naman palang mag-increase ng price yung Wilcon, paano naging negative catalyst or risk yung margin erosion? Kayang-kaya naman pala nilang i-maintain yung margins nila. So, the problem there is very simple. Why would I buy a shower head that costs 1,000 before tapos naging 1,125 if I can find the exact same product na mas less yung price, no? Kagaya ng example na to, 499 lang. So, of course, yung example na to, no, is just a made up one. Sabi ko nga, sinimplify ko lang. But you get the exact point and the exact concept of margin erosion and how it relates to the negative impact sa business kung hindi maayos yung pagka-increase nila ng price ng mga goods nila. So, this leads to the third reason or the third negative catalyst, competition. So, sabi ko nga kanina, yung Wilcon, pumipera sila sa 3-slice pie with regards to building, finishing, and furnishing. So, syempre, may mga iba't ibang business sila dyan nakalaban, no? Kagaya ng All Home, ng City Hardware, and syempre, no, pagdating sa furnishing, no, yung mga big boys, yung mga well-funded at talagang mga quality at talagang hype na mga products. And syempre, andyan din yung mga kalaban nila na hindi naman masasabing high-end, pero ang kinikater, no, yung mga middle class, tapos below middle class, kagaya ng Ace Hardware, no, ng Handyman, Mr. DIY. And syempre, since Wilcon has a lot of stores, no, depot stores sa mga provinces, hindi natin pwedeng tanggalin sa equation na kalaban nila yung mga maliliit na mga hardware stores, no, sa mga barangay or mga municipalities or mga towns, mga kagaya nito. So, what exactly happens here is that Wilcon can't keep increasing yung selling price or retail price nila sa mga products because what will essentially happen is consumers or clients will most likely decide to find yung mga products na to sa mga competitors nila. At yung nangyari dyan, nagkakaroon na ng mga price wars, customers or clients decide to focus more on promotions ng mga iba't ibang businesses na to, no? Tinitingnan na nila kung saan nagkakaroon ng mga discounts, ng mga sales, and for certain local hardware stores, syempre meron dyan mga suki, 'di ba? Na kung saan itong mga customers na to or mga clients na to, they can create tabs, no? Or kumbaga makapag-utang sila since they have a good relationship with their local hardware stores. So, ito yung mga hindi napapag-usapan na pwedeng kahit papano nagiging competition ng Wilcon, no? So, yung ginawa kong example kanina, simplified tapos made up. Pero I'm sure ikaw, you're already applying this sa sarili mo kahit hindi sa Wilcon, no? Whenever you see certain products, you look for different businesses or different brands that could offer the same product para ma-compare mo. So, nakikita mo dyan yung mga promotions, mga discounts, mga sales. So, that's happening sa online. Of course, it's still gonna happen pati sa mga physical or traditional businesses. Thus, Wilcon needs to properly price their products. Kasi if prices increase ng high enough, they might lose customers. Gaya ng sabi ko kanina, kung sobrang mahal ng presyo sa Wilcon tapos ako, customer or client, na may nakikita akong store na nagbebenta ng exact same item na gusto ko tapos mas mura, syempre dito ako bibili sa kabila. Parehas lang naman sila tapos nakatipid pa ako, 'di ba? And also, if they price yung products nila ng mababa, gaya ng napag-usapan natin kanina, of course, the profits will decrease because magkakaroon ng margin erosion eh. So, as mentioned earlier, yung kambal ng margin erosion is cost inflation din because there are a lot of reasons why costs of certain products increase, diba? Example, humihina yung peso natin compared sa USD. So, syempre, if the peso weakens, mas napapamahal yung pag-import natin ng products, diba? Galing ibang bansa. So, yung mga products ng Wilcon na manufactured outside the country, pag gusto nilang ipasok dito sa Pilipinas, syempre, mas mataas yung binabayaran nilang cost. So, pwede pang maka-affect dyan, diba? Yung mga logistics, at sobrang dami pang factors na dapat i-consider. So, those are the important risks or negative catalysts na dapat bantayan pagdating sa Wilcon. So, before we go to the next segment and talk about the positive catalysts, so I just checked yung analytics ng page and I've just passed 2,000 subscribers. As of the date of this recording ng video na to, nasa 2,140 na. So, thank you so much sa mga subscribers, tapos mga subscribers na madalas nanonood ng channel na to. So, if you want to be updated sa mga goodbye or goodbye videos ko, so halos weekly ako nakakapag-post ng mga ganitong type ng videos, which is of course an early access sa membership group. Make sure to subscribe sa channel na to so that you'll be notified and updated kapag nag-upload na ako ulit ng susunod na goodbye or goodbye video. So, let's go back to the discussion. So, kung merong mga ganitong catalysts na negative and risks for Wilcon, tapos down na siya ng more than 50% last year, bakit nagkaroon siya ng recovery na nearly 12% since November, no? So, for the past 2 months, nag-increase na siya ng 12%. So, for the positive catalyst naman sa Wilcon, ito yung pinakauna, I think yung dividend appeal niya. So, I think this is the reason why nagkaroon siya ng onting positivity for this short-term move niya, no, in a span of 2 months. So, I'll explain what this dividend appeal is. So, last March na third week 2025, Wilcon announced dividends. So, during this period, yung price ng Wilcon, no, hovering around 750 na price area. Tapos, yung in-announce nila na dividends, yung special divs, nasa 0.21 per share. Tapos, yung regular divs nila, nasa 0.15 yung share. So, yung dividend yield niyan, around 4.8%, no? Depende kung saang price point mo titingnan. Pero masasabi mong malapit-lapit sa 5% dividend yield. So, that means na if itong dividends nila this year, which will probably be announced ulit, no, nitong March, so that's around 2 months from now, no? Isa't kalahating buwan. Kung yung dividends na to, this year will stay the same or improve, pero I think unlikely. So, I think unlikely na mag-improve kung hindi maganda yung maging income nila, 'di ba? At a price range of around 6.40 to 7 pesos, yung div yield nila would be around 5.14 to 5.63. So, somehow naging attractive na siya, no? Kasi yung dividend yield na between 4 to 6%, talagang attractive yan sa mga investors, no? Tapos, sobrang grabe na yung binaba ng price. So, syempre, at that price point, there could probably be already certain investors na are finding value dito sa Wilcon. Tapos, they're actually getting paid to wait netong around 5.14 to 5.63% na dividends, no? So, pagdating natin sa technicals na segment ng video na to, mas mapapag-usapan ko pa doon itong mga prices na to, tapos yung pag-factor in ng dividend appeal ng stock. So, the second catalyst for Wilcon that I think, ito hindi masyadong short term but more on the medium term to long term, no? Yung housing or construction recovery. And I think there are several factors na dapat abangan or dapat i-consider in order to unlock itong catalyst na to. So, unang-una sa lahat, syempre government stimulus for housing. Hand in hand to, yung decrease in inflation, tapos easing interest rates. So, napag-usapan ko naman dun sa reasons for soft soft consumer demand, no, yung inflation tapos yung interest rates. So syempre kung bababa yung inflation or let's say hindi na siya tataas, pwedeng magkaroon ng extra income, pwedeng ma-retain ng mga tao yung purchasing power nila pag nagkaroon ng increased income. Tapos syempre mag-i-increase yung discretionary spending nila, no? So yung mga nagkakaroon ng mga delay sa certain projects, pwedeng instead of delaying that for a few years, no, pwedeng maging less than na lang. So of course, that's gonna create a construction or housing recovery, no? Pag nag-ease naman yung interest rates, kung hindi ganun kamahal umutang, so syempre, incentivize yung mga tao, no, contractors, customers, clients, developers to borrow money, 'di ba, for housing or construction. And I think, no, combination ng mga bagay na to will certainly unlock demand for home construction. And talagang may backlogs, no, yung Philippines pagdating sa home construction. So I think very important na mangyari itong mga bagay na to, which I think will definitely create a positive catalyst for Wilcon. And the third one, maintain market leadership. So napakita ko to kanina sa negative catalyst pagdating sa competition. Ito yung mga certain brands or mga names na masasabi natin na kalaban ng Wilcon dun sa 3-slice pie nila, di ba? Pero when it comes to these names or mga brands na to, if we're going to look at the market share of Wilcon sa mga companies or corporations na listed sa Philippine stock market, actually dalawa lang sila. And that's Wilcon and All Home, no? At kung makikita nyo dito sa pie chart na to, 77.6%, no? Masasabi mong 3/4 ng market pagdating sa listed na mga businesses that relate to home improvement and construction materials. Yung Wilcon yung may clear na leadership percentage. And syempre, hindi nakakagulat because sobrang dami talaga nilang stores sa Philippines, no? Hindi lang sa mga key cities sa country but also sa mga iba't ibang provinces, no, mga municipalities at even mga malalayo ng mga lugar sa mga major cities. And I think I recently saw a post na lagpas na sila dun sa goal nila na 100 stores, tapos 105th store nakapagbukas na sila. So nakuha na nila yung goal nila, tapos nag-expand pa sila, no. So that's very important na ma-maintain nila yung market leadership. And syempre with all the issues surrounding Villar stocks, no, yung All Home, alam naman natin na Villar stocks yan, pwedeng fina-factor in din ng mga market participants na masihina pa yung performance ng All Home, kaya pwedeng mapunta sa Wilcon yung attention na yun, no. So for the next segment of this video, I'm going to discuss the technicals. So punta tayo sa chart ng Wilcon. So andito tayo sa chart ng Wilcon. So from 2020 to 2026, and ano yung nakikita nyo based dun sa nabigay kong example kanina sa table, you'll see that from 2020 up to 2023, yung general trend ng Wilcon pataas, 'di ba? Kasi kung titingnan nga natin yung performance nila pagdating dun sa income nila, talagang pataas, 'di ba? Double digit yung growth nila pagdating sa income. Tapos pagdating ng 2023 onwards, although profitable pa rin naman sila, yung trend overall pababa. So, if you watch yung Globe ko na goodbye or goodbye video, makikita nyo din doon yung same na structure ng charts pagdating sa income, no? Kung saan trending down yung income ng Globe, yung stock price niya pababa din. Halos same lang din dito sa Wilcon. Nung 2023, bumababa na yung stock, no? So, mag-zoom in tayo para mapag-usapan natin yung price action na ginagawa ng Wilcon for the short term and medium term. So, the vertical line represents itong last trading day ng 2024. So, syempre, yung next trading day niyan is yung simula na ng 2025, no? And as you can see, nung 2025, if I'm going to plot itong days around 2025, ito makikita nyo nga, no, na a little more than 50% yung naging drop ng Wilcon. Tapos, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na kung saan nakahanap siya ng low around this area. Tapos, sa closing price at these levels, ayan, nearly 12% yung nangyaring recovery sa kanya, no. So, sabi ko, nagiging attractive yung dividend yield ng Wilcon kasi a little more than 5%, tapos under 6% yung nagiging dividend yield niya, no, kung hindi magbabago. So, ito kasi yung dividend announcement nila nung nakaraang March 2025, ayan yung special tapos yung regular. So, under 5% yung dividend yields, no. So, kung hindi masyadong magbabago, pwedeng nasa 5% pa rin yung dividend yields na yan. And we can definitely see na nagkaroon ng interest sa Wilcon, no, nung November and December and even up to the first week of January kasi nagkaroon ng consolidation around this level. So you can see that the price hindi na bumaba ng 6.80 simula ng third week ng November, no? Tapos nagkaroon siya ng increase, no, nung second week, third week January. So kung ilalabas ko yung MA20, makikita natin na galing yung Wilcon sa isang short-term consolidation kasi nasa consolidation lang siya sa last week ng November tapos buong December. Tapos ito, nagkakaroon na sana siya ng short-term uptrend pero nagkaroon ulit ng bentahan and bumalik lang siya ulit dito sa price ng around consolidation na area. So that means pwedeng nagkaroon ng failure dun sa short-term uptrend niya kasi bumalik lang din ulit dito. So kung ilalabas ko naman yung MA50, no, it's very clear na yung mga candles, no, sobrang lapit pa sa MA50. So pwede nating masabi na nasa medium term consolidation siya, transitioning towards that area kasi simula November ng third week, nagko-consolidate na siya, no? So, ibig sabihin, sideways na siya for about 2 months. Tapos, pag nilabas ko naman yung MA100, it's very clear that the stock is in a long-term downtrend kasi simula pa October, hindi pa siya nakaka-move past ng MA100, no? So, ibig sabihin, sa long-term na outlook, hindi pa talaga maganda yung itsura niya sa ngayon. So, ano ba yung mga key levels na dapat abangan for Wilcon? So, ang immediate resistance ng Wilcon is itong 7.55 kasi nag-create na siya dito ng swing high eh. So, ayan siya. So, ililabel ko to as R1 because that's the first resistance. And then, yung consolidation niya dito, bandang 6.85, ayan yung nakikita kong primary support niya na S1. And itong low na na-establish niya nung November, ito yung S2. And after this S2 level, yung sunod niya na support is yung 52-week low niya na. Around 5.78 na price area. Tapos 5.68, no? So, range yung support niya sa S3. So, paano pag nakalagpas yung Wilcon sa 7.55? Ano yung next na resistance? So, I can see a double bottom kung titingnan lang natin itong specific level na to sa 8.29. Pero you can also consider that as a possible triple bottom nga eh. Kasi yung low dito sa July 7 nasa 8.40. So, hindi naman sila nagkakalayo. So, actually, yung 8.29 towards 8.40 na area, ito yung R2 ng Wilcon, no? And after that, I think yung very important resistance na kailangan niyang malagpasan is itong level na to, yung around 10.40 to 10.80. Kasi ayan yung 52-week high niya eh. So, ibig sabihin yung R3 niya is a specific range. So, kung ilalabas ko ulit yung mga moving averages, no, it's very clear that sa ngayon, Wilcon is in a consolidation sa short term tapos it's probably consolidating sa medium term, no? Kasi 2 months na siyang nasa sideways movement. So, mukhang makapal-kapal na resistance itong 7.55 towards 8.29 to 8.40 nga. Kasi if the price moves past R1, nakaabang agad yung MA100 dito eh. So, pwedeng mag-act as resistance yan. So, as you can see, sa level na to, nung around third week ng October, nung bumaba yung price at nag-bounce dito sa support initially ng 8.29 to 8.39, tumaas siya. Tapos, napigilan ng MA100 sa level na to. So, syempre, sa galaw niya ngayon, pwede nating expect na pag tumaas yung price sa level na to, mag-hit lang ulit yung MA100 tapos mapigilan niya yung price, no? And then, in the event naman na malagpasan niya yung MA100, nakaabang agad dito yung R2 na price resistance para pigilan ulit yung pagtaas ng price. So, ibig sabihin, itong ang buong area na to, kailangan ng malakas na catalyst or buying pressure para malagpasan niya yan, no? So, I think if the price moves past R2, halimbawa mag-close siya ng 8.45 tapos hindi na siya mag-close pababa, I can say that the stock has recovered tapos may potential na siya na makapag-reverse. So, up until that happens, I think mahirapan tong Wilcon at pwedeng mag-create pa siya ng much larger box, no? Na mag-consolidate lang siya dito up until may magandang catalyst para mapa-breakout siya eventually. So, kung walang positive catalyst na mangyayari, tapos puro risk lang, tapos negative catalyst, so hindi na nakakagulat kung yung Wilcon bumaba towards S1, S2 para maghanap ulit ng mas malakas na support Or kung sobrang pangit talaga ng galaw, pwede pa siyang pumunta dito sa S3 na levels. So just a quick plug regarding the private membership group ng channel na to. So the reason why napag-usapan ko yung Whalecon sa goodbye or goodbye video ko is because I asked the members of the private group, no, yung group ng Compounding Crew, Traders Table, and Market Masters kung ano yung stock na gusto nilang ma-feature pagdating dito sa goodbye or goodbye video. So currently kasi the membership group includes 3 tiers. So andyan yung Compounding Crew, Traders Table, and Market Masters. So that's the perks and benefits that you get if you join a specific membership tier. So if you want to be able to vote sa next na goodbye or goodbye video and have access to exclusive videos and a whole lot more, you can send me an email sa mga email address na to. Tapos ito lang yung ilagay nyong details dun sa email. So for the conclusion of this goodbye or goodbye video regarding Whalecon, sa short term tapos medium term, what's happening sa Whalecon is that it's as if the market is pricing in na wala na masyadong mangyayaring growth sa Whalecon or hindi siya magkakaroon ng improvement. Kaya sobrang grabe yung binaba niya, no? So para sa akin, kung sa short term tapos medium term lang, I'd only be interested to buy Whalecon kung merong trade setups na available na magiging sabay dun sa mga catalysts na na-mention ko, no? Kung walang ganong catalyst, I think yung galaw ng Whalecon hindi masyadong magiging malakas. So, pagdating sa long term, napag-usapan ko naman yung mga positive catalysts ng stock na to. So, pagdating sa dividends, importante na ma-maintain niya yung dividends na nabigay niya last year or makapag-improve because I think with this dividend appeal, yung Whalecon is no longer a pure growth stock na kung saan puro lang sila expand pero nagiging na silang mix, no, ng may growth potential kasi nag-expand pa rin naman sila pero ngayon pwedeng income generating na kasi nagkakaroon na sila ng good na dividend yield. So this could create incentives for investors na mas ma-attract sila sa stock na to kasi nagbibigay na ng dividends na maayos. Tapos, dun sa housing recovery, yung mga napag-usapan kong mga factors dyan, no, dapat may government stimulus pagdating sa housing, tapos nag-i-ease na yung inflation, tapos interest rates, which of course will unlock demand from construction. And pagdating sa market share, ma-maintain nila yung market leadership na yon, tapos get further market share, steady growth and expansion para hindi sila masyadong maapektuhan ng mga competitors nila, no, ng competition. So, essentially, for the long-term outlook ng Whalecon, if you're bullish na mangyayari yung mga positive catalyst na yon for the long term, so more than a year, 2 years from now, then ayun yung mga catalysts na nakikita kong dapat mangyari. So, how about you guys? What do you think about Whalecon? So, share your thoughts sa comment section. And if you haven't watched yung mga previous goodbye or goodbye videos ko, click the upper right. Tapos, yung mga stock market lesson videos ko sa bottom right. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe sa channel so you'll be updated sa mga future videos na i-upload ko pa.